Paradise. Written and narrated by Annye Castonguay. 1000 words. Written March 2016. Recorded July 17, 2017. Paradise. As with most of my travels, I hadn't planned to go to Paradise. I had come across a website showing a few lone bungalows on a beautiful deserted beach, and I instantly felt it calling my name. So I set sails in that direction. I hopped on a local bus and reached Hawaii at 3:30 a.m., the usual arrival time of all buses in Myanmar. A German fellow sitting next to me, 2 girls from Denmark and myself shared a taxi to a nearby beach. Sebastian and I split a room. I told him about my vague plan to find that beach. He had heard of it and recalled that one could even sleep in a hammock. Having never slept in a hammock, I found the idea charming. It was decided. I was going to Sansa'a. A few hours later, we rented a couple of motorbikes, read scooters, and began the journey down and across the peninsula to reach its southern west coast. We made good headways, but darkness surprised us. We knew the last few kilometers of the terrain were challenging and thought it best to wait until morning to take on the last leg of the journey. A local family invited us to spend the night in their home. We gratefully accepted. They showed us great hospitality. Their heart was as warm as the floor was hard. The road to Paradise was treacherous, especially on a motorbike too big for me. I made it as far as the bottom of the trail that led to the beach. I firmly intended to reach Paradise alive, so I elected to walk the last few kilometers. I had only brought a few essentials along, so the trek was easy. I could smell the ocean, and if it had not been 40 degrees, I might have run. Mind you, I no doubt would have ended up face down in the trail. Finally, there it was. The most beautiful beach I'd ever seen, absolutely deserted. To use the well-known cliché, I literally thought I had died and gone to heaven. We hadn't made a reservation, so all the bungalows were booked. It didn't matter. I put on my bathing suit and went for one of the most wonderful swims of my life. And I'm a fish. When I finally emerged from the Andaman Sea, André took my hand and led me to my sleeping quarters. A hammock suspended under the cashew tree across from bungalow number 3, occupied by Selina and Christian. They graciously let me use the front right corner of their balcony as my dresser. I spent my days in the ocean, swimming, floating, or body surfing. Normally, glorious beaches catered to the wealthy, not your average backpacker. Paradise felt more like a hostel on a private beach. Perhaps this partly explains my feelings towards Paradise. I liked that the beach was private. People gathered at meals or sat around the campfire on the beach in the evening. I felt so happy to be there. The stars had aligned to get me there, and now they shone bright on the beach where I laid, whilst the rising tide sang my name. My hammock came with a bug net that had a hole the size of Manhattan. Fortunately, I knew nothing of the critters that lurked around at the time. I struggled a bit to find a comfortable position, testing the stability of my bed. I pulled the thin purple blanket André put in my hammock, thinking I certainly wouldn't need it. The temperature had gone up to 36 degrees Celsius that day. The morning dew permeated everything, including my hammock and my nightie. The sky was already light, but the sun hadn't come out yet. The waters of Sansa'a Bay glistened in the morning light, perfectly still. Those early hours were the only time the sea was flat calm. I loved it even more that I had it all to myself. I rushed back to my hammock, adorned my bikini, and into the sea I went. I glided through the crystal clear waters, leaving only the smallest of ripple behind me. I was home. I embraced the stillness, breathed the calm. I knew I had at least 3 hours of absolute peace before the next guest rose. I couldn't remember the last time I felt a bliss so absolute as this one. Perhaps memory was serving me well, and there was just nothing comparable to remember. I was in perfect harmony with my environment. As I contemplated the immensity of this sea, I missed the sunrise behind me. It didn't matter. I would catch it another day. Nowhere to be other than here. Now. A feeling I had never known before. Of that I was certain. Being in the moment. After breakfast, I taught a few local girls how to time the waves. I was living bits and pieces of the childhood I should have had. Fun and carefree. Without phones and internet, it was easy to forget there was a world that existed away from here. One morning, I decided to watch the sunrise, but it was only possible to do so from the water. I took my dress off. I felt the sweet caress of the warm breeze on my naked skin. I entered the water and wondered why I hadn't thought of that before. I spent 2 heavenly hours playing in the water, floating on my back, watching the sun inch up in the sky. When all the elements conspire to create a perfect moment, that happiness is so amazing it transcends words. I noticed some activity on the beach, so I reluctantly came out of the water. Clear as the sun was bright in the sky, I knew it was time to leave paradise, because I wanted to forever remember how paradise truly feels. I knew that any attempt of recreating that perfect moment would completely obliterate its memory.